Hey everyone, I'm your host, Robbie Straczynski, and thanks so much for joining us on episode number 90 of Cards Chat, the friendliest poker podcast in town. Today's guest is Ian Simpson. Ian's been a professional poker player for close to a decade now, and in that time, beyond being able to make a living from the game, he's also made a name for himself as a successful content creator, namely on Twitch, where he's amassed an audience of about 11,000 followers. He's long been a beloved ambassador representing online poker brands, and most recently, he signed a new deal to rep 888poker. On this episode, we'll dive a little deeper into Ian's career at the Felt, learn more about his life away from the Felt, and in general, get to know him a little better. Ian, welcome to the CardsChat Podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me.
It's good to hear your voice, and it's good to see you. We were remarking just before we started here of we're familiar with what each other has done in the poker space, but we've never gotten to have a conversation before.
It's nice. Modern technology lets us have sit-down conversations face-to-face over thousands of miles. It's wonderful.
Thousands indeed. Well, I know I'm coming to you guys from Israel as usual. Where are you coming to us from today, Ian?
The northeast of England, just outside Newcastle.
Northeast of England. So that's not yet Scotland.
Not yet Scotland, but a stone's throw away.
A Stonehenge throw away from Scotland.
Yes,
beautiful.
Exactly.
Okay. Excellent. All right, so let's just sort of jump right in. And I think this is obviously, anyone who is part of your audience, your tribe, knows you from Twitch and everything you've done. They know the background, but a lot of folks are not necessarily familiar with your story. But one thing I found particularly intriguing, obviously you were not always a professional poker player. You used to be a teacher. So I want to hear a little bit about that pre-poker teacher life and grind. What was that like for you?
That was amazing. I used to love it. I finished university. I don't know what year. Couldn't in my head. I couldn't remember what year. And I had a year where I was completely lost. I didn't know what to do. I ended up getting an office job and absolutely hated it. Wow. It wasn't for me. The office environment wasn't for me. It might have been the office itself, but I couldn't reconcile with it. After about 5 months, I said, okay, I'm going to have to do something else. And they actually made me redundant just as I was about to hand in my notice. So I got a month's wages for free. There you go. Which is very nice.
Which at the time was good, right?
Yeah, exactly. Got a free paycheck, and then I said, okay, let's try teaching. And you know what? I absolutely loved it. It was 70 hours a week. It was hard work, but I did absolutely love it.
Let's take one step back then. So what had you studied in university? What did you think originally was going to be the plan?
Biotechnology is what I studied, and I didn't have much of a plan. I just knew I enjoyed and loved biology and loved science.
Okay.
But I'd never formulated a plan for after the course, if I'm honest.
You're not the only one. A lot of folks, I remember myself also. I remember I'm good at being a student, but what do I do?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because Dara Okani made the analogy that poker it's not like a job, it's like being a student. It's like being a university student.
Sure.
If you treat poker like a university course, that's a pretty good approach to it, because the people who study are the ones who are successful.
Sure.
You can't just glide through it like you maybe could at high school.
Yeah, certainly true. Obviously, of the professional players who make a living from it, but for recreationals as well. The more you study, generally speaking, the more you tend to succeed. And right away, you gave the shout out to Dara. He is a Cards Chat ambassador, so we got to mention that he was on episode 19 here. This is number 90.
We didn't even plan that. That was just nice.
Not that they know. Not that they know we planned. The check's in the mail from Dara, though. I'm not supplying that one. So when you moved into teaching, then it's an interesting sort of pivot. Did you end up teaching science and biotechnology, or was it other subjects?
Well, I was a supply teacher for a year, so I actually taught loads of stuff. I taught, obviously did a lot of science, but they had a couple of staff who are poorly, who are long-term sick, so they saw I'd made a relationship with the kids, so they said, "Oh, we'll stick around. We'll have you for longer." So I taught religious studies, I taught history, I taught geography, I taught math.
So like a homeroom substitute teacher in a way, yeah?
kind of for a year, and then a position opened up in the science department, and I jumped right on it and joined the science department and taught biology full time, which is science is my love.
That's pretty cool.
It's fantastic.
So what ages and grades are we talking about?
Oh, naughty teenagers, the best ones.
I see.
The sort of 12 to 18.
That's fascinating, because to jump from the office life into a very different kind of pool, did you like kind of instantly like, what have I done? Like what's
I loved it. Loved it from the first minute. Yeah.
Okay. And why is that?
I just did. I don't, it's hard to articulate why. It was, helping kids make the best of the situations they were in, whether that be good or bad, because it was a school in a challenged area, shall we say.
Right.
So a lot of different backgrounds. Some kids coming from not very much at all. Some kids more affluent, and you had the whole spectrum. Kids who had two loving parents with stable jobs to kids who had one grandparent as a carer, and everything in between.
Well, that's a pretty big thing to be able to make a tangible difference in their lives. And I know, like I'm sure all of us, listening, think back.
You're making me want to quit poker again, dude.
Oh, no.
You're making me think about going back to it.
Well, we will sort of get into that transition momentarily, because I do have, obviously, a couple of follow-up questions there. But I'm sure all of us have those teachers we sort of look back on fondly. It's like, this one made a difference. This encouraged me to go out and get it, or to believe in myself, or that sort of a thing. Teachers are underrated, definitely underpaid. We all know that. Yeah. So got to respect your teachers.
Massively. My wife's still a teacher. So she's an assistant head of the school now. And I still see firsthand how hard teachers work. So I'm always reminded, these guys are the ones who are, like I think it was a quote on a program called The West Wing, that teachers are the silver bullet. If you invest heavily in education, all of society's problems can be fixed long term, or at least mitigated long term.
I certainly believe that. Also, West Wing, shout out Aaron Sorkin, great show. Big fan of West Wing.
My father's given me the DVDs, but I haven't watched it yet. I've just seen that quote about education.
Too busy playing poker. I see you got that poker table in the background. For those who are just listening, Ian's got that great table. How often do you utilize that table at home?
Well, it hasn't been used since before COVID.
Really?
Yeah.
You used to have a home game?
I mean, it hasn't changed since high school. It's 5 pence, 10 pence blinds.
No kidding. Same group of people?
A lot of them, yeah.
Wow. Okay, well that definitely dovetails into the how did you get into poker? How did that become part of your life? Story. So let's hear that.
When I was 5 years old, my family went on a holiday to the Lake District in the northwest of England. And for those of you who live in the north of England, you know what the weather is actually like. So going on holiday in the north of England, you kind of stay indoors a lot. So rainy day at the caravan site, my dad just picked up a deck of cards and taught us 5-card draw, and we absolutely loved it, a lot of us. And we got a bag of pennies and started playing play money, but with the pennies, sharing the pennies out and getting the pennies back in as soon as we got home from the holiday and to our friends. And then we started playing for real money maybe when I was 15 or 16. We found Texas Hold'em on the TV, Poker Night Live, that kind of thing. Because we were playing 5-card draw, like 1 penny handy. And then my friend said, hey, I saw this on the TV. Let's try Texas Hold'em. And we did. And obviously we loved it. Although back then, we were watching it and we were saying, what are they doing? What's this nonsense about pre-flop? You've got 2 cards. You've got 2 cards. How can you make a decision with only 2 cards? So we didn't play any pre-flop action. We played an ante. You get your 2 cards and the 3 community cards.
Interesting.
You go from there. Yeah.
So you excelled at post-flop play, is what you're trying to say.
Well, yeah, because it was everyone VPIP to 100%. Everyone.
Right.
Yeah. It's almost like everyone limped in the big blind checks, and then you go. That's when we started the game.
A lot of us mixed game players, we still wonder what you're supposed to do with only 2 cards to start. Right, just pointing that out. At what point did you sort of graduate from, okay, we're playing, for real money, but not, anything serious, to poker becoming more a part of your life?
as soon as I was able to get an online account and go to the local casino,
Okay.
I jumped in. Ran really good. I must have ran good because must have been playing terrible. Ran up some money. I actually didn't need a part-time job at for my last year of university because of the money I'd made playing cards.
Okay.
So that was handy. And then I played recreationally just because I obviously once I became a teacher, I had very little time to play cards.
Well, 70 hours a week in the classroom and prepping for it. So I guess it's good relaxation.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I don't know about relaxation. It's a pretty intense game at times.
Okay.
But no, it's intense relaxation.
But you weren't playing it to make a living at that point in your life, though. But you were attacking it seriously.
The biggest thing that sort of got my heartbeat going was satellites, getting the chance to qualify to a live event. So I qualified for some live events and made trips to like Nottingham and stuff like that. But then in 2012, I won a package for the Irish Open.
Right.
And this is how my professional career started.
Yeah.
Because the organizers at the time had a €100,000 prize for whoever lasted the longest out of all the online qualifiers. And I got fourth.
Yep.
But this 100,000 additional prize, 50K of it had to be on live buy-ins. There was no negotiating that.
So you were basically forced to sort of go pro?
Because I looked at the teaching calendar and I looked at the poker calendar, and there was no way to spend 50K in buy-ins outside in the teaching holidays, because the poker tournaments weren't running during the teacher holidays except the Irish Open. That's why I went to it. It was one of the big live events that I could play because it was during the Easter bank holiday. So I had to decide between this 50K in tournament buy-ins or my teaching job.
How do you make a decision like that when you love teaching so much?
How do you? Because I love poker too, and this was playing poker. This wasn't just playing poker in my man cave or my living room or whatever. This is playing poker in Latvia, in the Bahamas, in Ireland, in Germany, France, anywhere, all over the world. So I talked to my colleagues at work.
Yeah.
I talked to my father. I talked to my mother. I talked to my wife. I talked to my girlfriend at the time. So
right.
And I just talked to everyone, and I decided it was too big an opportunity to miss. So I'll dive in. I'll go for it for a year, and then I'll go back to teaching. But then there was a little snag, because after a year, I had the 50K in buy-ins, and I turned it into about 30 grand, which not bad at all, really.
It's real money. And
like playing. I mean, I was playing 5Ks for God's sake.
Yeah.
I was just directly buying into an APT. Which at the time they must have been fucking loving.
Yeah.
They would have hated how well I was running, but they would have, but I had one tournament left, which was the Irish Open again.
Oh yes.
In 2013, and I went and won the thing.
Yep.
So
I guess the decision kind of makes itself for you in a way.
And then I thought, okay, I can do this. So I got 2 ridiculously good scores out of one satellite qualification into a live event. And then I never looked back. I just continued doing it. How
about you as a player? Obviously, like you said, for heaven's sakes, you're playing 5Ks, buying in. Obviously, we understand how. We understand the how as you fill this in. But going from there's got to be some sort of a mental progression you experienced beyond. Okay, I'm getting better at this game, but to super quickly be playing for such higher stakes. How did that happen over what period of time, and what was that period of time like for you as sort of starting out as a professional, basically jumping in the deep end?
Yeah, it was pretty magic, because even just satellite qualifying into a big event is a big deal. But I don't think I played as scared money. I think I just had this disconnect in my head with the money. It was just. They were just chips,
right.
And like, you just make the best decisions you can with the chips you've got in front of you. I'm a lot more respectful of money nowadays, because it's very hard to get a hold of. It's incredibly hard to get a hold of.
Yep.
So I don't know. I'd love to go back in time and talk to that young man and say, dude, you're playing a 5K buy-in poker tournament. a month ago you were playing a £50 buy-in poker tournament. Do you see what's happening? Do you understand how ridiculous a transition your life's in right now?
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to go back and ask him and
How
ask how
have
he was feeling, because I can barely remember. It feels like a dream. It feels like it was someone else's life.
That's pretty cool to be, to be able to reflect on that now, almost a decade later, and also, like you say, want to talk to that young man. Obviously, you've grown tremendously as a human being, as a poker player, and yet you've mentioned that it's been the same since high school. That poker table behind you. How could you be playing those big buy-in events, and all of a sudden you switch your career from a very conventional, if not 9 to 5, but 70 hours a week of teaching? You become a poker player who, I hate to use this phrase, but it is true, is your fate to a large degree depends on the turn of a card. No matter how well you study and how skilled you are, you have that, and yet you're still playing the 5 pence, 10 pence with your friends. How did that work?
The 5p, 10p with my friends, it's almost sacred, because I have the hunger to play big games. I get really excited when I get to go and play live and play for a 1K event, or even bigger, now and then.
Mm-hmm.
But if we tried to raise the buy-in increment in the home game, that would have priced a few people out.
Mm-hmm.
And the home game wasn't about taking each other's money. The home game was about getting a bluff through on your friends. The home game was about sharing this new bottle of whiskey I bought. It was about, having a laugh, joking about old times and stuff like that. So the money had to be it had to be almost infinitesimal. It had to be to an amount where there is money involved, because poker has to have money involved for it to be poker. But also it had to be small enough that no one would fall out with each other. Like if we lose a tenner to each other, there's not going to be any animosity.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool that you maintain those same friendships. I mean, they've obviously, now they get to play with the great, Ian Simpson, whereas before they were playing just with, our buddy Ian. How do they feel about your progression as a professional poker player, having witnessed it from the beginning?
Yeah, they're all incredibly supportive. They used to make fun of me because back then I was devouring poker books.
Okay.
This before the good things happened. I've still got them on my bookshelf. Yeah, like Harrington on Hold'em and winning poker tournaments one hand at a time. These amazing books. I was devouring them, and they were laughing, saying, "Oh, it's luck. You can't. There's no skill. What are you talking about?" And then my friend posted on Facebook, like, after it happened, "Shit, I really wish I'd read them books that my friend was reading."
That's great. Do they ever have a little bit more of a vested interest and get a percent or two when you play the bigger events?
I've sold action in the past, and people have bought, but unlike most poker players, I don't typically sell. I sell occasionally, but I don't know. I feel like ego comes into poker a whole lot. I was thinking about this when I was looking at the World Series schedule, because I'm flying out there in a couple of days. And there's one day where there's a 400 event at the Aria, there's a 1600 event at the Venetian, there's a 2.5K event at the MGM. And I can just picture the tables, and I can picture the people selling action to be able to play the 1600. And I'm just thinking to myself, why not play the 400? You're not beholden to any backers that way. Obviously, if you sell at a market, it helps with the variance, and I get that. But people will play the 1600 on that day, and I think that's a mistake. Even if you bankrolled for both, I think the 400 is going to be the way to go, because your edge in the 1600, I think it's going to be pretty reggy. And I'd rather not sell action, play the 400, and have probably the same hourly, I think, or very similar hourly, because all the egos are going to go to the Venetian to play the 1600, or the MGM to play the 2500.
That's interesting. Like, obviously, I'm not a professional poker player, but the way you're talking about it reminds me of how I used to try and compare, getting an A in a regular course versus a B in an honors course. And there is a debate, right? Like, what matters more? Is it more that you're, I'm wondering to you as well, like, is it, like say it's more heavily reggy, or is it more important to have the larger or full piece of yourself, or to challenge yourself, in that 2500, and maybe the players are like uber 10. What is it that helps you make those decisions of, which one you are gonna sort of jump into, and what would you advise others also who are, not yet as far along in their professional career, how to make those decisions?
Yeah, game selection is so important, and I've had the privilege of playing some games where the lineup has been insane. Like I've been at tables where there's been like 2 or 3. Well, let me try and pronounce. Is it Rettenmeyer and Renkenmeyer?
Yeah,
There's a bunch of, the
Marvin.
like, yeah.
And
But there's a
Tobias,
few of them. There's a few of them with surnames beginning with R that are really long. I do apologize that I'm not pronouncing them right. And I found myself at a table with 4 of these surnames. and I also had Simon Deadman and Sean Deeb.
Oh wow! Wow!
And it was great. I loved it. But you're paying a high price for that privilege.
Yeah.
Game selection's important. In tournaments, I got thrown into that. I would not pick that table. It was great to play with those guys and to be able to chat with them, and because they're lovely to chat to. That was fantastic. But I wouldn't pay money to sit at that table ever if I can avoid it. I'm going to play the 400 quid at the Aria.
So
it's not a bankroll. It's game selection. It's important. If you want to battle with egos and you've got the money to do it. I'm going to go make money.
Okay. So obviously, there is a difference moving up from, the absolute penny stakes as you've done to the stakes you're currently at versus the stakes you're currently at to higher and higher levels, the 2,500 buy-ins, the 5Ks, the 10K up, the 25K and up. What are sort of like the difference makers in your mind that enable you to say, okay, you know what, I've reached a certain point. Is it skill-wise, bankroll-wise, or something else that says, I'm ready to move up to the next level, or shot take and hope that I could move up more permanently? What are those factors?
So I think a lot of poker players are hungry to move up stakes. I know I have been, and I do get FOMO occasionally if I see a tournament that's just a little above my average buy-in, and I think I could justify that. If you're going to shot take, like everyone will have their own financial position. Like if you're going to shot take, you've got to, 1, know exactly where your bankroll is. 2, you need to know where the bills are coming from. You need the kids need new shoes. The wife needs a date night, or the significant other, whatever. The cupboards have to be full of food, and then you've got money left over. You've got your bankroll. You can do whatever you want with it as long as all those other things are in place. If you have a monthly wage, you can top up your bankroll if you want to. If you don't ever want to do that, you've got to be a lot more conservative with your play. When it comes to picking shot takes, I typically want a good reason to do so. So if there's a lot of satellite tournaments to the target event, that's great, because that bulks up the field with players who wouldn't directly buy in for that stake. That makes the game softer. I want to see overlay. I want to see added money. Or I just want to be, have a healthy bankroll and be feeling good. All those factors come into whether I decide to play a game that's bigger than my normal buy-in or not.
So that sort of advice is obviously very detailed and coming from a world of experience that you've had over the last few years. I'm wondering to what degree, if at all, is it also influenced by the fact that you used to have a real job, right?
Right.
And obviously, there's one obvious factor in that, someone who's single, unattached, and only has themselves to worry about, no other dependents, sure, definitely other concerns, but even so, you still got, make sure that utilities are paid and all that other sort of stuff. But, that whole real world experience, non-poker world experience that you had, does that influence your thought process, your decision-making at all when it comes to bankroll management and moving up?
I'd like to think, I definitely got a lot out of my development as a human for having been a teacher for 3 or 4 years. Specifically for bankroll management, I can just see how hard it is to get money, because it is damn hard. Even for people who look like it isn't hard, it is damn hard. There'll be exceptions to every rule. So I do have a bigger respect for money now that I'm a little wiser, a little older, a little more humble. Yeah.
That does come with age. I will agree with that one.
Well, I had a ridiculous start in this. I got 4th and 1st in a high buy-in prestigious tournament.
Sure.
With a lot of turn cards and river cards going my way to get me there. So that definitely skewed my views on money, because I got a lot of it straight away in this game, and that just happens so rarely. And the times it does happen, so often that money just vanishes because people don't manage it well. My father taught me well, because my father's been he taught me 5-card draw. He's been a gambler all his life. My grandfather was a gambler. My grandfather was a losing gambler. My father was a winning gambler. And then, the gambling sort of knowledge got passed down through the generations.
Sure.
And it's, it came good. My dad always instilled in me sort of to look after my money, like not to be sort of tight with money, but just to be sensible with money. Totally fine to enjoy yourself with it. Have nights out and enjoy money. When it came to gambling, he was looking for good bets, not just placing bets for the heck of it. He would never play roulette, for example, except just to have a laugh.
Right.
He wouldn't do anything serious on it. My dad really instilled those values in me to, look for good bets and to look after your money.
That's great. And I've heard also from so many professionals as well. Like, this was an eye opener. The first time I heard of it was, when you when you bet at the poker table, right? Have you ever asked yourself, why did you do that? Right? Like, just whatever the bet is, whether it's a big bet, an over bet, an under, like whatever it is, like, why did you just do that? Not just for the hell of it, because that's the go ahead freewheeling recreational, that's great. But like, if you ever really want to take the game seriously, then every time you say the word bet, you should know why you're doing it.
You're doing it, for sure. 100%.
Yeah. No, I like that attitude. I like to instill the good shout outs to your forebears. Very, very important to do. So here's one, kind of like switch gears a little bit into content creation. And, I very much do not mean any offense when I say this, because you mentioned your big 6-figure scores. You've mentioned, and there is, you look at your Hendon Mob, you have another big 100K, pounds score at the UKIPT, runner-up in London in 2013. Yeah. The thing is, you're not as well known for the big poker scores as for the content creation that you've done, in particular, building this Twitch channel. So let's start out there. What made you want to start doing that in the first place, get your name out there and start building an audience as another way of sort of being a part of the industry, that sort of thing? Where did it come from?
Well, I was tempted, like before I did it, I was tempted because I saw Jason Somerville doing it. Like, he had a show called Run It Up on YouTube.
Run it up,
yeah. And it was fantastic. I devoured all of those shows. I absolutely loved it. This lovely, charismatic human playing cards and showing you how to do it. I adored it. And I think if I'd gotten just a little bit more of a push, I would have done it too. Might have made my own YouTube show. But it wasn't until it was with my previous company. They offered the chance. They said, "Look, you're a good personality fit. Why don't you try?" A chap called David Pomeroy offered me the chance, and I said, "Okay, let's try it. Let's do it." I got that little kick, that little nudge in the direction. We'll help you. We'll help you with the technical setup. Dive in, do it. And I did, and and then it worked out. I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it. It's a huge part of my life now. I can barely think about playing cards without it. In fact, I did play cards without it for 2 months because I was with Unibet, and now I'm with 888.
Right.
And there was 2 months when I was with no one, so I wasn't streaming. And I was a different human when I was playing online. My wife didn't like me anymore. she said you have to get back to twitching. No kidding. Who is this guy?
So what is it that comes out in the public facing Twitch Ian that was absent when he was just playing online, Ian?
I don't know, man. I was just tilting and just wasn't pleasant to be around when I wasn't streaming. And when I'm streaming, sure, I don't like a river card that knocks me out of a tournament, but I'm a lot more zen about it. I'm not quite sure why, because it's not like I get embarrassed easily. I wouldn't be embarrassed about flipping a table proverbially, Right. So I don't know why.
That's fascinating.
But my wife was very happy I got back to work because
So do you look at that as work?
Yes, 100%. It is. I treat it like a job. Yeah.
Okay. But in a positive way, something you clearly enjoy doing.
It's a job I love. Yeah, it is work. It is something that you've got to be disciplined with, regimented with. Like Twitch likes routine. Like, the viewership likes routine. They like to know, okay, 5:00, Ian's show is going to start on Mondays, Tuesdays, Sundays, Fridays. And if you if you don't have a regular routine on Twitch, it does affect your numbers somewhat. So,
yeah, for sure.
And just poker, it has to be treated very serious. I mean, it doesn't have to be treated very seriously. I take that back. If you want to do it for a living, it has to be treated very seriously. If you want to do it recreationally, you can treat it as seriously as you like. You can just have a ball and throw around the money if you can afford it. Don't do it if you can't afford it. Or you can take it quite seriously and be a winning recreational player as well. So that's kind of one of the things I love about poker. It can be gambling, or it can be very much like chess.
Sure. But so you look at yourself primarily as a Twitch streamer. This is your thing, and whatever you're able to make from profit from poker is on top of that in addition, or vice versa?
I've never really thought about it. I think it's 50-50. I think it's
okay.
They're both big parts of who I am as a professional. I think as a professional Twitch streamer and professional poker player. I think it's 50-50.
Okay, that's a fair assessment. I get it. Well, with Twitch, as you said, it's a matter of consistency, and we all know there's tons of very popular Twitch channels and personalities out there.
So much.
Now, so sort of a two-part question. A, do you view the other ones as your competition? And B, what do you believe sets Ian Simpson's stream apart? Why are people tuning in to see you specifically, if not as opposed to others, but what specifically is the unique selling point of Ian Simpson's Twitch channel?
So that's your first question. I don't see people as competition. Maybe I should, but I don't really.
Okay.
There's streamers I look up to, and who have like 3 or 4, 10 times the numbers I do, 100 times some of them. And I really admire that, and I want to know their secrets and build my own community. And sorry, what was the second question?
The second question is more what is the unique selling point of Ian? Why are they going to your channel?
Well, that's the thing. Because there's so many people out there on Twitch. There's so many different personalities out there. I'm the silly guy who loves cats, loves cards, loves rock and roll, and whatever selling point that makes me Ian Simpson is my selling point. Okay. You just got to tune into people and see if they're your personality, because I'm not everyone's personality, and that's totally fine. If you tune in and you think, nah, that's fine, because there's 8 billion people on this planet. Like, is it 8 billion, 7 billion?
A lot.
We don't. It's a lot. It's a lot. And we don't all gel together. We don't all we're not everyone's cup of tea.
Sure.
And that's the beauty of Twitch, because there's hundreds of poker streamers out there. You can find personalities that are pretty close matches to your own, and you can, form relationships with these people on the screen, like I've been doing. I've been finding more and more streams where there's people who are, pretty like-minded to me, who are just enjoyable to watch, and some people who aren't like-minded to me, who I've also been enjoying watching as well. So
I think there's, by definition, anyone who's doing Twitch streaming with that audience, engaging with it, there's always, what de facto almost a didactic element. And I'm wondering, do you ever see that in your audience? So you have people sort of thinking, oh my God, thank you, you taught me so much. And does that sort of give you, like, if you experience that with any sort of regularity, does that give you the same good, warm feeling that you got in the classroom as a teacher?
Yeah, 100%. It's fantastic. I've had people who come up to me and say, "Oh, you've really helped me with my game, and I've seen some results," and that's fantastic to hear. And then the other end of the spectrum, there's people who just play dollar games, don't really care about getting better at poker, but they love the community, because we have very wholesome, lovely community. Largely because we take no shit. Like, if anyone is a dick, they don't last long. We make fun of them and send them on their way. So our community is very wholesome and kind. And I've had people message me saying, "Yeah, it got me through lockdown."
Wow.
Because lockdown was hard on everyone. No matter your opinions on the whole 2 years that we've had, it was hard, and people really turned to these Twitch channels, mine included, to have this social interaction that was taken away from us. So that was absolutely huge when I got messages like that. So
was it helpful for you to have that consistency in that online grind?
Yeah, definitely. Just being part of a community it's just good for your brain, I think. No matter what that community is. almost no matter what that community is. Everyone has their own.
Sure.
Everyone has their own thing. It doesn't even have to be poker. There's other communities on Twitch, or there's other communities offline. Being part of a community is a big thing for a human being. I think it makes you feel part of something that you can contribute to make other people happier, which is nice.
Sure, and especially during a couple of very, very difficult pandemic years, having that to
very difficult
fall back on or to cling to, like a circle of like-minded people. I can imagine that's a very big thing for a lot of people.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so sorry about that. Next question for you then. Okay. You had mentioned that you look up to other Twitch streamers, and specifically, like right in consonance of that, you mentioned their bigger numbers. So I'm wondering, what is a success to you as far as the Twitch stream? Is it how many people you have? Because you mentioned also this community, this engagement, and that is obviously possible with a smaller community. That's great too. So what are sort of like your boxes that you want to tick on a regular basis, and then I guess sort of on a long-term basis with your channel for measuring success?
So I try not to think of the numbers as the success.
Okay.
I try to think of people having a good time as the success. If we all have a laugh, that's the success. Because there's times I get a deep run and I get lots of numbers, and that's great. I get bigger numbers than average, say, and that's fantastic. But I'm much happier if just people have had a good time. So even if it's a day when, maybe a Sunday when the competition's so fierce on Twitch for numbers, and my numbers will be lower than average because there's so much competition out there. That's still successful if we all have a good time. Like I'm with 888 now, so obviously bigger numbers is great because my job is exposing my viewership to 888poker, 888poker's clients. But I don't think that's the way I'm going about sort of advertising my stream. Like, oh, we have to get these numbers to be successful, because I don't know. There's a law called Goodhart's law. I'm just making sure I get the definition right. Yeah, when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. And there's some fascinating examples of this. And if you set your target as getting 1,000 people watching you on Twitch, well, there's ways to go about getting that done that don't create a good show. You could just put on a huge free roll and you have the password and everyone turns in, get for the password, and you've got 1,000 people on the channel, but is it a good show? So I try not to let metrics rule my decision making. I just want to put on a good show and people enjoy it, and then the numbers will hopefully grow from that. I'm of similar mind, and a lot of I mean, similar, again, not exactly the same, but you could sort of say the same thing about poker as well, in that it's the process that's important, the reps, making the right decisions. And if you do everything right, eventually the wins will come, not necessarily to be results oriented in that way. 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Putting in the reps is the thing. Like I said, Dara came up with the analogy of treating it like a university. If you want to get good at this game, you have to work harder than other people. Sure.
Well, working hard is something that got you on the radar originally of Mr. Pomeroy. For shout out, he's a wonderful man at Unibet. What, I guess this is around 2016 or so.
Give or take.
So what did that feel like, getting that email, getting reached out to, like, hey, you want to rep a brand? Is this something that you had aspired to, or was it just like really out of the blue?
It was I'd done similar bits and pieces. Like I'd been with Paddy Power after winning that Soul Survivor promotion at the Irish Open. And I'd done, and Sky Poker TV actually had me on their show for about a year when that show used to run. So I'd had little bits of experience with it. And I don't think it's such a rare thing to happen. I think I kind of took it for granted, to be honest, because when rare things happen to you, they don't seem rare to you. It's just a thing that happened.
Right.
You don't get to see the scope of the millions of other people out there. When things happen to you, it doesn't seem rare. It's just a thing that happened. but trying to be more cognizant of just how well I've run in poker is very important, because I have ran incredibly well, so high above EV, not just at the tables, but with catching the eye of people who are in the poker industry.
Okay, but to that I would say, okay, that's great, but just sort of like any job, it's one thing to get the interview, get your foot in the door, even get the job, but unless you're good enough, you don't maintain that job for long. You've obviously, as well as you've run, credit to you for maintaining that run good and making the most of that sort of opportunity, genuinely, and not trying to blow smoke or anything like that. It's something that has to be earned regularly, consistently on a daily, monthly, weekly basis, that sort of thing. So what does it mean to you sort of to have that mantle of representing not necessarily 888 or Unibet, but any brand, to be a brand ambassador, to be a sponsored pro? What weight does that carry to you? What sort of obligation do you feel as someone who wears any patch?
Well, my biggest obligation is that I'm conscious that I'm promoting a gambling game. And it might sound trite or whatever, but safer gambling is something I do try and instill whenever I'm playing cards, because I've had FOMO, I've had fear of missing out when I've not played a bigger game for whatever reason. And if I'm playing $100 game online and showing it to people, and their average buy-in is maybe $10, I don't want them to play the game that 888 want me to advertise to them.
That's fair. That's fair. Very honest.
Unless they can afford it.
Correct.
It's so important, because I've seen the fucking horror stories. Sorry for swearing. I've seen the horror stories. I've seen people do themselves damage through gambling. So that's something I'm always very cognizant of. Poker's a beautiful game. It's fantastic. But the money side of things has to be treated so seriously. You have to have everything else in order before you put a buck on the poker tables.
Yeah.
You need food in the cupboard. Like I've said it earlier, you need food in the cupboard. You need your nearest and dearest happy and secure. So there's a bit of a dichotomy there. I want to promote this. It bears
repeating, though. So don't worry about repeating yourself there. And it's refreshing to hear that as the first message out of your mouth as the answer to that question.
But 888 Poker, that's one of the things that I'm very much on board with. They have similar mindset. When I got to meet them for the first time, they were all lovely people who are quite like-minded. I don't know them well yet. I've met them 3 or 4 times, I guess. But I've got all good vibes from them, and they have similar opinions to me about poker and the way it should be promoted.
Beautiful.
So,
I definitely want to talk a little bit more about them soon. And I would be remiss. It was a 5-year large part of your life. We will give credit where due, and you left very amicably as well.
For sure.
From Unibet. So could you perhaps share 1 or 2 of the highlights of your 5-year tenure as a Unibet ambassador before we move into your current role with 888?
And I guess just the people I met along the way were the highlights. I met some professional poker players like Dara Carney and David Laffin, who are lifelong friends now, who've been people I've learned a lot from. I've been able to, I remember one trip to Malta. David Lappin was kind enough to let me stay there, and I actually got to look over Dara's shoulder when he was playing online. Well, I've never seen another professional poker player play a session. I have on Twitch.
Wow,
that's not exactly the same thing. I was able to just peek over Dara's shoulder and see, oh wow, he's clicking this button, he's clicking that button. I don't click that button. Wait a minute. So that was really cool.
I don't click that, but I like that.
I don't click that button. Why is he clicking that button? And I could ask him. It was great. I had to wait till the 5-minute break because he had so many tables open.
Naturally.
But so the people I met were definitely the highlight, I think.
That's fair. And I also want to give the shout out to David Laffin. He was episode number 28 of the CardsChat Podcast. 89 other episodes of CardsChat Podcast to listen to after you've heard this one, if you have not heard them yet. Good stuff there. And good answer. It's always, it's the people. That's a very good answer, very true. And, that's something, money comes, money goes, especially at the poker table. As you said, it's hard to get a hold of, but the friendships, no matter with which company you are necessarily aligned, those can last for a very, very long time. Yes. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Then you had this transition. You did part ways amicably. Yeah. So it's a strange thing almost. And it was just a couple months, and all of a sudden you ended up with a different company with 888. I personally a big fan, both companies, do excellent work, good Likewise. People working there, and not a single bad word to say about all of them. It's a really great bunches of people. And yet to make a transition is a little strange, so we're I have to ask, without prying, and it's none of my business, or anyone's business, certain particulars, but to make such a quick transition from one company who you clearly loved, worked with, and all of a sudden working with another. Can you tell us sort of how that happened, if there's any sort of backstory to it at all?
I mean, there's a few bits and pieces in the backstory, but the main thing was just a new opportunity. I've been with Unibet for 5 years, enjoyed it. Like I say, great bunch of people, great company, but it was time for a new challenge after 5 years, I think, in a new beginning. That was pretty much the thing that tipped me over the edge to go for a new endeavor. And like I say, I'd started to meet some of the gang at 888,
right?
And met them at a few live events, and I was really, really taken with just how hardworking and kind they were. So when they presented the opportunity, I thought, yeah, okay, it is time for something new. Let's dive in. Let's see where this new journey takes us. And so far, I'm absolutely loving it.
It's been how long, like 6 months now so far, something like that?
No, less.
Wow, goodness.
May this year was when it started.
Oh my goodness, so it's really fresh, just a couple months.
It's brand new. Yeah. And their stream team is fantastic. They're funny and savage in the right way, and they're great entertainers. I'm really enjoying watching them. In fact, I've been watching more Twitch now that I've discovered these guys than I have in the past. Because usually when I'm done twitching, I'm done with poker. I'm going to go downstairs and watch Game of Thrones, have a beer, and relax.
Yeah.
But now I found myself staying upstairs and turning on another Twitch channel. And
that's called engaging. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And I imagine you're also learning a thing or two, like you said, always. Learning really new things to add to your arsenal as an entertainer.
They're really good streamers. They're really, really good. They're very entertaining, and they've got their own little pulls, their own little way of carving their niche on Twitch. Like I say, there's so many unique personalities out there, and 888's found. I think the stream team's 8 strong, wow. And they're all very.
It's always 8.
It's strong, and they're all quite unique, but they all gel as a team really well.
Beautiful.
So it's really nice. It's so good.
So I've got one sort of more content question before we shift gears yet again, foreshadowing. We know clearly what you bring as a poker player. We know, we've talked about it extensively, what you bring as a content creator. In what way is your new role with 888 Poker similar to, as well as different from what you had done with Unibet? You talked about it as a new challenge. So how is it different? How is it similar? Besides obviously just being on Twitch and creating content of that nature.
I mean, the games on 888 are a bit bigger, quite a bit bigger. So I've got the opportunity to play some bigger games on stream, which is nice. I mean, the similarities, it's still poker. It's still entertaining. The Twitch channel itself, I'd like to think it hasn't actually changed. Because it's the same people who were watching me 2-3 months ago that are watching me now. There's
just on a different platform on the 888 software. Right.
It's still the same. I like to think wholesome place, my Twitch channel, because like I say, we don't tolerate any bullshit. If a troll comes along, we keep them around for like a few minutes because we love tormenting them for a few minutes. And then we just send them on their way and get back to just being on each other's rail. So it's exactly the same as that. We still have the same micro stakes around us. So we're coming in and saying, "Hey, Ian, I'm on the final table of this event, and it's fantastic." And we all we don't care if it's a $1 game. We don't care if it's a $100 game. If someone comes along and says, hey, this thing's going well, we're all really enthusiastic about it. We're on each other's rail, regardless of what the stakes are. And that hasn't changed. That stayed the same. It's the same lovely community.
Beautiful.
Which is, yeah, it's fantastic. I absolutely adore my community. They're fantastic.
I love it. Well, we said we're going to change gears, and you use the word adore. Your Twitter bio indicates that you are a husband to an amazing wife and a father to an amazing daughter, both of whom I'm sure you adore. So let's start with the former. You had mentioned that you had met at the time your girlfriend. I guess this is through teaching, right?
Yeah. I met Emma when we were on a teacher training, and she didn't like me at all. She maintains that I talked at the same time the lecturer was talking, and that's not me. I don't think that's me at all. I refute this claim every time she brings it up. But she took an instant dislike to me because that was her view. I talked when I'd been rude, so I was in the bad book straight away. And we both had different partners then. But then, and we both qualified. We both got teaching jobs. And then like 3 or 4 years later, we both found ourselves single, and we actually talked through Facebook. She posted something, I don't know, a photograph of a holiday she was on, and I commented on it, and we just ended up in talking about, hey, what have you been up to since the teacher training days? And then one thing led to another, and we went on a date, and then it was like, I think we were only like 3 or 4 months into our relationship when I got fourth in the Irish Open.
Let's hear that story. It's a legendary story.
So she was just dating a regular teacher, and then all of a sudden she knew I like gambled a bit, played a bit of cards. Actually, she won't tell me which one, but one of her friends said, "Stay away from the gambler. Don't date him." And to this day, it's been a decade, and she still hasn't told me which one of her friends said.
She can keep it in the vault. Good. Okay.
She should. And I honestly, I don't.
It doesn't really matter, right?
I wouldn't begrudge it. I can picture all of our friends who it might have been, and I wouldn't begrudge it one bit, because there are horror stories around gambling. So I get it. Sure. But anyway, she was by my side when this ridiculously unique thing was happening. When I had this decision to leave teaching to become a poker player for a year, and she just stuck with it. Yeah, and then a year later, like we'd been together for a year, and I remember there was one moment where she was like, she was feeling a little bit lost because she wanted marriage and kids, and we both wanted marriage and kids, and we were just talking about that kind of thing, talking about futures, and she was feeling a little lost and a little bit down, and I couldn't cheer her up. I had the ring. I bought the ring. It was hidden in my father-in-law's sock drawer.
I love it.
And I couldn't cheer her up, because that's kind of one of the things you do as a partner.
Yes.
When someone has a problem, your partner has a problem, you do what you can to cheer them up. And I couldn't without telling her what I was up to. She wanted her life to move on, and I'm like, yeah, me too. but I can't tell you just how much I wanted to move on just yet.
Right.
But don't, I wanted to say, don't worry, I got this. Yeah. But I couldn't tell her, don't worry, I got this. So that was a fun experience. But yeah, then I was going to propose at St. Stephen's Green. I don't know if you know Dublin at all.
I'm not familiar, no.
No, there's this lovely place called St. Stephen's Green. It's this lovely park, very picturesque, and we love feeding the ducks, and it's got lots of ducks and birds, and that's just one of the things we love to do. So I was going to do that and propose there at St. Stephen's Green. It was kind of one of our like nice, cozy spots. But then I got to the final table of the 2013 Irish Open, and I realized I could do it on stream.
Yeah.
Because then my parents and my entire family and friends could watch it, and all of her parents, family, and friends could watch it. So I said, no matter where I said to myself in my head, no matter where I finish at the final table, I'm going to do it. And I told the tech team there, hey, this is my plan. Where do I do it? And they were okay, well, you can, this is the spot where all the cameras are going to catch you. So yeah, I'm actually really glad I didn't get second for that reason, because I was really single-minded, like, because I kind of had blinkers on. This is the plan. This is what we're going to do. If I'd come second, it would have been awful. But then, because I don't think I would have taken a step back, because I was just so single-minded. This is what I'm going to do. Can you imagine if I got second and just sort of push the winner aside and said,
Right.
this isn't your moment. I'm taking
Right.
and just got down on one knee and did it. It would have been awful. So I'm really glad. If I got third, it would have been fine.
Right.
Put their heads up, and then they have their moment. That would have been enough degrees of separation. But if I got second, it would have been terrible.
It's a legendary story. It's a wonderful moment. It still remains captured on video. Yes. You can go ahead and check that out. It's very, very cool. You eventually got married in 2016. And just that second part of that Twitter bio, father to an amazing daughter who you had in 2020, I believe, since you've been a proud papa, right?
2020, yeah, Valentine's Day, actually.
Oh, beautiful.
Valentine's Day. She was induced on the 12th of February. So wow. She didn't want to come out. Yeah. So I remember I was going to hospital because Adeline was poorly for a little while there, but she's fine now. But I remember going to hospital to swap out with my wife, and they've got to be very careful when an adult's visiting a child for obvious reasons. So they asked me the child's date of birth, and I got it wrong because she was induced on the 12th. And at the time I was just sleep deprived and useless. So they just saw this guy coming in, like a bit disheveled and tired, and like asking to see this child and getting the date of birth wrong. And I was like, oh Jesus! I promise she's mine. She's definitely mine. I'm just tired. Goodness. I'm sorry.
That's
I thought a date of birth was going to be the 12th, but it wasn't.
Right. Well, what I can say is very interesting. Again, remind me her name.
Adeline.
Yeah, beautiful name. So,
thank you.
Born on February 14th, 2020. We all know what happened just a couple weeks later. So ordinarily, I just sort of go ahead and ask, so what's fatherhood like? But you've had a very unique opportunity of a lot of extra time you would not ordinarily have spent even in those formative years. You've really been an active papa these last couple of years. What's it been like for you?
Well, the very first COVID patients in England were above us at the RBI hospital.
Wow.
Because there was just COVID was just trickling into our lives. There was a few patients of this thing. It was just like a sub headline on the news.
Yeah.
But the RBI, the Royal Victoria Hospital Infirmary in Newcastle, fantastic place. Can't thank them enough over the years. But yeah, they've got a specialized disease unit like on the floor above the maternity unit. So the very first COVID patients were just above us while everyone was giving birth.
Wow.
And then the bombshell hit, and we all know what that was like. And then it has been great. Poker's a unique sort of lifestyle for having a family, because I obviously work evenings because that's when the best games are. Yeah. But my wife works during the day. And my daughter has my daughter's hours. It's kind of hard to get all three lining up at times, because Saturday can roll around and I can be exhausted. If I'm playing poker on Friday night and I'm up till 2 a.m. and my daughter's waking up at 6 a.m. It's hard to have family time, especially if I want to be rested for the next grind as well. So it's a very difficult dynamic that we're still struggling to iron out the creases to get down perfect.
And it always changes, as they grow older, their hours change. As you say, they have a little bit more of a system with nursery, kindergarten, that sort of thing as well. Yeah,
for sure. So it's hard, but we're loving it. And Adeline is just this warrior. She's just fantastic. So we did have a rough year there, but it hasn't hindered her somehow. She's just this incredibly vibrant, amazing little human. She's just crushing it. She's doing great despite having a rough year. She's doing amazing. So
it's so lovely to hear that. That's what I love about these cards chat interviews, these long conversations. So the poker, but there's so many more layers, like an onion. You need to sort of peel them off and who's he in away from the table as a husband, as a father, and all that. I think it's a beautiful thing. You mentioned even as a son, as a grandson. I think it's really cool to get to know you in this way. I've just got a couple more questions. I want to make sure we have time for our community questions. Do you have any sort of short or long-term goals as a content creator, especially now that you've got an even larger platform via which to put yourself, your name out there.
Yeah.
What sort of what are you trying to do? As far as like big picture over the next little while.
Consistently have a nice poker stream where people can chill out, forget about, because the world is upside down. The world's been upside down since about 2016, or it feels that way to me. And it's nice to have this little escape room where you can be away from the maniacalness that is modern life, the absolute impossible to comprehend stuff that's going on in the world. It's nice to have a place where, I mean, don't get me wrong, it does get mentioned occasionally, but there's times where I'm just like, you know what? No, if the opportunity to talk about this stuff today comes up, I'm not going to take it. We'll talk about cards. We'll talk about silly stuff, friendly, happy stuff. We'll talk about our favorite beers. We'll talk about food. We'll talk about poker. And it's nice to have that escape. That is my biggest goal for my community, is to be able to have an escape from modern life. Because I think that's what entertainment is, whether it be Game of Thrones, whether it be a computer game, whether it be Twitch. It's an escape from real life. Because real life, it's important to talk about. It's important to talk about. But yeah, the way the world is at the minute, it's a little scary. So it's nice to have an escape from that.
I imagine that there are those who would react to that and say, well, sure, ignorance is bliss. And they're not wrong, strictly speaking.
Yeah.
But I would counter that just sort of by saying, I myself as well, like everyone, you find, there's the old saying, 2 people, 3 opinions. You never,
Yeah.
right? But what I would say, though, is there's so much more to be gained by focusing on the things that we have in common. For example, 100%. The love of poker and 100%. Those silly things, but very actively so, not even just as a passive escape. Let's not, put our heads in the ground, because that is important too. But I would say, again, I'm injecting a little bit of my own opinion here, but
no, do it.
I would say that I think there's just so much more to be gained, so much more positive things that could come from focusing on the commonalities, when even those same exact people could disagree, and justifiably so, but so vehemently, on perhaps what are more important world matters or something. But it's almost 2 sides of the same coin. But the way you want to go about it, I like your answer of that is a very admirable goal. I think to give people that sort of space.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. And the topics that are going on in the world are incredibly important, regardless of what side you're on. And we should be fighting tooth and nail about them. It's just for a few hours, we need to get away from it. Because if you're doing it all the time, you'll pull your hair out. Believe me, I know.
Yeah.
I'm showing my bald head to the camera, by the way, for those just listening. You should be fighting tooth and nail out there for what's right. But you also got to look after yourself and have escapes. You need Game of Thrones. Even Game of Thrones is intense. Fuck Game of Thrones. Find something. Find a good comedy. Find a wholesome Twitch channel. Find a good computer game. We need escapes as well. So you've got to fight tooth and nail for what's right in this world, because that's the only way it's going to get fixed. Mm-hmm. But you've got to look after yourself and have escapes.
I like it. I have more questions, but I just sort of feel no. It's like I feel like we could be talking for the next hour and a half, but I want to make sure we get the CardsChat community members. So we will turn to the second segment of the show, where we turn to them, the members of the CardsChat community, everyone who's watching, who's listening, to see what questions you wanted to ask our guests. And of course, we have a dedicated thread on the CardsChat forums for this. So as we announce who our future guests will be, please be sure to send in your questions. We've got a couple of question askers today. One is Chica Bonita. Thank you so much for sending in. We'll try to get a couple from you and a couple from our one of our other regular question askers. Chica Bonita, Ian, wants to know, why do you prefer tournaments to cash games? Ooh. What are the advantages and disadvantages for you? Can you please tell us your views on each?
Wow, yeah, very good question. I'm getting to grips with cash games a little bit, because there is the subtle differences between cash and tournaments make for big changes in play style. Mm-hmm. The reason I'm with tournaments to begin with is just the rush of battling down to one player to one winner. Mm-hmm. There's no rush like it. In cash, it's just a different buzz. It's, and it's a lot more. There's a lot more freedom when you're a cash game player. Like if you get a headache partway through a cash game session, you can just leave.
Yeah,
it's fine. You can stand up and go. If you get a phone call, you can leave. It's fine.
Or a massage. We've also recommended at the table. Just got to point that out. At the table is great. That sometimes works too. But yes, go on.
But in a tournament, you register and your money's invested and you're there.
Yeah.
For the duration. If something comes up, then that's a disaster. So yeah, the tournament rush is what got me playing down to a winner, playing down to a final table, and all the unique dynamics that come with that challenge. Then looking at ICM and the mathematics behind that, all those things are what really stimulate me. Really, I've always loved maths. I've always loved the problem solving that comes with maths. So that's why I prefer tournaments to cash.
Yeah, good answer. And another question, clearly Chico Benita pays very close attention to your career, asks, Ian, you were planning to launch your own podcast, but as far as I know, Chico Benita writes, the pandemic prevented your plans. Did you manage to implement it, or do you have plans to continue with this sort of an idea?
I was never going to do a podcast.
We were misinformed, Chica Benita.
I'm very sorry.
A different Ian or a different Simpson?
Yeah, sorry. I was the newsman on Dara and David's podcast.
Sure, Chip Race, the award-winning Chip Race. Let us not forget.
The award-winning Chip Race. But no, I never had plans to do my own podcast. Sorry.
So I will ask a podcast-related, follow-up there, sure. Just to maybe that's what Chica Benita had meant. As far as being the newsman, did you enjoy that? What were your favorite parts or most challenging parts of putting that segment together? Because I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was nice just chatting with, because especially over the pandemic when we didn't see each other, because Laffin someone who I've got to know pretty well over the years. It was nice just having an hour's phone call with him. Because we would rant and rave for 20 or 30 minutes before we.
Because your segment was 3 minutes long, so it wasn't.
Yeah, our phone calls could be an hour because we talk about all sorts of things. We talk about how to set the world to right. So that was really nice, actually, having an hour's chat with Laffin, because there was a little bit of the real world coming back to it.
Fair.
So yeah, that was a great show. I do miss it, but yeah.
Cool. And I will say, if anyone wants to hear an hour's chat with David Laffin, again, just a reminder, episode number 28 of the podcast. I had to get one last shout out in there. I'm sure David will appreciate that. Acid Burn FX. We always love these questions. And with these questions, we will end off. Love these questions. Thank you very much for submitting them. Ian, Acid Burn FX wants to know, what is the nicest act that you secretly did for someone else?
Ooh.
Right? Love these questions.
Ooh. I wish you told me ahead of time, because this is a brain scratcher. Nicest act that I've secretly done for someone else.
You don't have to mention who if you want to keep it a secret still.
I'm trying to think. I'm specifically trying to think of a secret one. Because one nice thing that I do that isn't a secret, because I love live music. Live music is the best. It's the closest thing to magic this planet has. It's amazing live music.
Favorite artist?
Oh, that's you're coming up with hard questions today, dude.
Oh, that's favorite just me. Artist? I'm just wondering if there's one.
I know, but favorite artist? Have you seen the artists out there at the minute? There's
favorite
so many
live
good ones.
Show you wish you could have attended, historically speaking.
Wish I could have attended historically would be Unplugged in New York by Nirvana.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. But going back to an act of kindness, I do like mementos. I love little kitschy things that from an event. I'll have tournament registration tickets from events that I didn't cash, just as a reminder. Oh, I was in Latvia and I played a poker tournament. I love little mementos like that. But at rock gigs, being a tall guy, I do cash the occasional plectrum. Like when the guitarist throws out the plectrum, I've called drumsticks as well. I don't keep those mementos. I give them to the nearest person who was trying to catch it, because then I get the memory of them smiling. They get the memory of someone being nice to them, and that's my memento. That's something that stands out. It's not a secret thing. I do know what your friend's getting at. The question there. I'm gonna wake up at like 3 a.m. and remember one. At least I hope I will, because I do things like that. And I hope I do think of an act of kindness that I've done without someone else knowing about it.
That is fair.
For the life of me on the spot, I'm struggling to come up with one. I'll try and put it in the comment section when you post it.
That's good. Pay attention, guys, to the comment section. When we put it on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere that comments are given. Last question, which we will end off with. You're clearly someone who enjoys a good laugh, someone who enjoys a good time. You're wondering, where am I going with this one, right? But no, really, I can imagine also, fans of your channel also obviously know someone who, smiles a lot, laughs a lot. So our question to end off with from Acid Burn FX, if you had an unlimited budget, Ian, what epic prank would you pull?
Oh, it would have to be against Laffin. It would just have to be. What prank would I pull on Laffin with an epic budget? Oh, the wheels are turning. This is a brilliant question. Ooh. It would have to involve one of Laffin's nemesises, because he does love a good nemesis, Mr. Laffin. He's got a few of them on. So if you follow Laffin on social media, and I recommend it because he's a good laugh on social media, he does get into some he's not afraid
tiffs.
To get in tiffs. They're a bit more vicious than tiffs occasionally. So it would have to be something like that. It would have to be like, I don't know, Jonathan Little moving to Malta or something like that. Yeah, stage it so that Jonathan Little's moving to Valletta. Yeah, that would be a good one.
That is an interesting one. Well, I will say, we will point out that Jonathan Little was also our guest here on episode.
Oh shit! Sorry.
No, that's okay. We get along with everyone here at the Friendliest Poker Podcast in town. That's another great episode to listen to. But I will just wrap it up. We'll say thanks so much to everyone who sent in questions for Ian Simpson. Sorry we couldn't get to all of them, folks. Really, this has been an incredibly enjoyable hour plus of conversing. I feel like we can and hopefully should do it again in the near future.
I'd love to, yeah.
Just a friendly reminder as well to our Cards Chat community. We would love to see you submit your questions for our future podcast guests in the dedicated thread on the forums. Guys, please give us a good review on iTunes. Spread the word via your social media channels if you like the show. Ian, before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
I want more ideas for pranks. That's what this is highlighted for me. I feel like if the opportunity arises, I need to be ready to go with a good prank. And I don't know. I feel like now I'm unprepared. So if you have any good ideas for pranks, do send them to me, and I'll see.
And how can they do that? How can they reach out to you, Ian?
Well, twitch.tv/Ian Simpson Poker is my Twitch channel. That's my go-to plug. But I'm also on Facebook and Instagram as @Ian Simpson Poker. That's where I am everywhere. So you can find me in all of those places. Thank you.
Sounds good. Well, thank you again very much, Ian. Thank you all for tuning in once again to another episode of the Cards Chat Podcast. I'm Robbie Straczynski. You can follow me on Twitter @CardPlayerLife. I wish you all a wonderful day.